China has delivered one of its strongest public warnings in recent months, declaring it is prepared to resolutely strike back at any external force that attempts to interfere in matters related to the Taiwan Strait. The statement came from Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian on Tuesday during a daily press briefing. Responding to media queries, Lin reiterated Beijing's long-standing position that Taiwan is an inseparable part of China, rejecting any references to Taiwanese officials as foreign ministers or representatives of a sovereign state. He stressed that the island's Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, is pursuing the path of secession by seeking foreign support, which he said will lead nowhere.
Taiwan is part of China, and there is no such thing as Foreign Minister of Taiwan. The difficulty facing China-Japan relations is simply due to Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's erroneous remarks on Taiwan. The Japanese side should honor its political commitments to China, retract the erroneous remarks, and take practical steps to do soul-searching and correct its wrongdoings. Any external force who dares to meddle in the affairs on the Taiwan Strait will face a resolute head-on blow from China. The Democratic Progressive Party authorities' ill-intentioned attempts are rather disgraceful, and their moves to seek secession by soliciting foreign support will lead nowhere.
Lin also criticized Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, calling her recent comments on the Taiwan issue erroneous. He accused Japan of violating political commitments made to China and demanded that Tokyo retract the remarks, conduct soul-searching, and correct its wrongdoings. This is what Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said recently. I thought about it. I think it was dogmatic. Regarding the Taiwan emergency, Prime Minister Takaichi gave specific cases involving an existential crisis situation. And Japan has always been constructive and open to dialogue with China. So in the future, after all, we will create better, more comprehensive relationships through this dialogue and maximize national interests. I feel this is my responsibility. In one of the toughest statements in recent weeks, Lin said that any external force, whether a country or political actor, that dares to interfere in Taiwan-related issues will face a resolute head-on blow from China. The warning underscores growing friction across the region as China increases diplomatic pressure over the Taiwan Strait. Lin concluded by attacking Taiwan's ruling DPP, calling its attempts to bolster international ties disgraceful and destined to fail. He said Beijing will continue to oppose what it calls separatist activities and foreign engagement that challenges its sovereignty claims. Amid escalating tensions, China has also told Japan to fulfill obligations as defeated country in World War II.
Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's erroneous remarks on Taiwan openly challenged the victorious outcomes of World War II and the post-war international order, and constitute a serious violation of the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations. China's letter to the UN Secretary-General setting out our solemn position was entirely justified and necessary. The letter by the Japanese side is full of erroneous views and lies. The Japanese side mentioned in the letter the so-called consistent position on the Taiwan question. But as to what exactly this consistent position is, the Japanese side has continued to evade the question and has yet to give China a direct answer. We ask the Japanese side once again, can the Japanese government provide the international community with a complete and accurate explanation of its consistent position on the Taiwan question as laid down in the 4 political documents between the two countries? The Japanese side claims that Japan adheres to a passive defense strategy, which is exclusively defense-oriented, and asserts that Takaichi's remarks were grounded in this position. Taiwan is Chinese territory. How to resolve the Taiwan question is a matter for the Chinese ourselves and brooks no external interference. Yet, Sanae Takaichi linked Japan's survival-threatening situation with a Taiwan contingency, implying the use of force against China. Is this what the Japanese side's passive defense strategy, which is exclusively defense-oriented, means? In Article 2.4 of Chapter 1, the Charter of the United Nations stipulates that all members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force. As a sitting leader of a defeated country in WW, Takaichi threatened a victorious country with the use of force in case of a survival-threatening situation. How could the Japanese side have the audacity to claim that it has always respected and adhered to international law, including the UN Charter? The Japanese side also insinuates accusations regarding the defense development and coercive measures of other countries. This is nothing but blame shifting. In fact, since Japan's defeat, right-wing forces within Japan have never ceased attempts to whitewash its history of aggression. Japan has increased its defense budget for 13 consecutive years, removed the ban on exercising the right to collective self-defense, relaxed restrictions on arms exports more than once, developed the capability to strike enemy bases, attempted to alter the 3 non-nuclear principles, further hollowed out the provisions on Japan clearly stipulated in the Cairo Declaration and the Potsdam Proclamation, and gone back on its commitments made on the Constitution. It is the Japanese side, not others, that has been engaged in the prolonged expansion of military capabilities, taking coercive measures and attempting unilateral changes to the status quo despite opposition from neighbouring countries. Given all these reasons, the permanent mission of China to the UN once again sent a letter to the UN Secretary-General and reiterated the Chinese side's stern position. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the victory in the Chinese people's war of resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. China firmly opposes the Japanese side, reversing the course of history, challenging the post-war international order and honouring the militarists. We once again urge the Japanese side to earnestly do soul-searching, rectify its wrongdoings, fulfill its obligations as a defeated country, take practical steps to honour its commitments to China and the international community, and stop reneging on its words again. 纠错，履行战败国义务，以实际行动兑现对中国和国际社会的承诺，不要一再背信弃义。